After Genji finished taking his late meal, he went out to do the nighttime rounds inside the mansion. He reheated the soup that Gora had started making, and ate some random leftovers from the refrigerator. They were all things Gora had made himself, and were, of course, delicious. He had half-heartedly gone to ask Rosa and the others what they would do for dinner, but he had been yelled at by a voice telling him that they had canned food, so they were fine, and the door wasn't even open for him. So, ironically, it was the servant Genji who was able to eat the more delicious meal. But even though all those crimes had been committed, and many people had already met a brutal end, why was it that Genji wasn't afraid to do the rounds all by himself? Judging by his appearance as he carried out his normal tasks, without a trace of fear, as though everything was normal, you might think that all the horrible events that had happened today were just a dream or an illusion. Well, no doubt that he doesn't fear death at this point. There is no room for doubt that Genji is also Kinzo's magical servant and has magic powers in a similar fashion to Kanon and Shannon. Not only that, but something tells me that Genji is especially a very powerful servant. I mean, who knows how much experience Genji has under his belt after so many years of serving Kinzo. With that being said, in his eyes, his days of serving the master is over, so he is waiting for his release, quote-unquote release. So, might as well do some chores till it all ends, I guess. Was he taking a philosophic view? Or was it simply resignation? Genji must have considered it a virtue to systematically carry out his duty until the last moment, since the fate that awaited him was unavoidable. It would probably be eternally impossible to perceive the depth of his heart, unless he thought of it himself. Because he had given the master key back to Rosa. The places he could go to were extremely limited. All he could do was walk around the hallways, checking to make sure that the windows were closed. So he was able to go around that route far more quickly than usual. After the sound of a moderate knock, Auntie Rosa, who had been falling into a doze shortly before, jumped and woke up, pointing the barrel of the gun at the door as she yelled. I was napping on a sofa, and that voice also brought me back to reality.
Rosa-sama, Genji de gozaimasu.
何か用なの？扉は開けなくて結構よ。そのままで話して。
はい。それではこのままで失礼させていただきます。南條先生と熊沢の遺体を見つけました。
なんだって。
And with stakes plunge into them for sure.
そう。わかったわ。確認に行きましょう。死体を見ない限り、私は誰も信じない。
大丈夫だよ、バトラー。マリアといれば絶対に大丈夫。
Maybe my face was shadowed with anxiety. Maria grasped my hand with her small hand and spoke softly, trying to give me courage. Since it was Auntie Rosa's job to ready the gun and stand guard, it fell to me to remove the barricade of sofas. When I finished, I took a backward glance at Auntie Rosa, who was pointing the barrel of the gun over my shoulder, and opened the door.
Genji-san, 二人の死体はどこに？
中庭です。ご案内いたします。
バトラ君待って。念のため部屋の戸締まりを確認していくわ。ちょっと待ってね。
Auntie Rosa called me to halt, to prevent me from going on ahead, and began to carefully check the locks on each of the windows. But those locks had already been checked once. It felt kind of unpleasant, as though she suspected that I might have secretly unlocked them when she was looking. No, maybe she was right to be cautious. Or she's opening one or more doors in secret. Possibly to make a secret entrance. Even though it was called a courtyard, it wasn't really a pretty place you could take a walk in like a rose garden. On the contrary, since it was surrounded by the mansion on all sides, it made you feel a little discomfort, as though it was telling you that you couldn't escape from the mansion even if you tried to escape to the outside. On the other hand, thanks to that, even though the violent winds could be heard, the wind itself was blocked. Genji-san held out an umbrella, but Auntie Rosa ignored him. She probably wanted to say that the gun took 2 hands, so taking the umbrella would be dangerous because she wouldn't be able to fire the gun. Even without Genji-san pointing his finger, we could tell immediately. Right in the center of the courtyard, we could see where Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san lay. Auntie Rosa entered the courtyard without even an umbrella. So Genji-san also entered the courtyard without opening one. Only Maria had one open like normal.
マリア、これはあれだな。
おお、第7の番と第8の番だね。
The 7th and 8th Twilight.
なるほど。確かに源氏さんたちが言っていたように2人の首にはひどい傷があるわね。すごく鋭利な、まるで日本刀か何かで切ったかのようにすっぱりね。
That gaping wound on their necks definitely made me want to hurt my eyes. But after seeing that Halloween party in the chapel, even though I thought it was horrible, it was no longer enough to make me feel sick. Instead, our gazes were directed to their legs, in Dr. Nanja's knee, and Kumasawa-san's ankle. Driven into each of them was something like a knife or a stake with a demonic decoration. They would surely be the same as the one that had pierced Jessica's back.
これは何なの？ジェシカちゃんの時と同じね。何かオカルトの儀式のつもりなの？
わかりません。彼らの遺体を最後に見た時にはこのようなものはありませんでした。使用人室から運び出された後にやられたのでしょう。
The one that had been stuck into Dr. Nanja's knee was still standing erect. But the one that had been thrust into Kumasawa's ankle might have been a little shallower. It had come out and fallen over. So it was only when I saw that one that had fallen over that for the first time I realized that it wasn't a knife, but something like a stake. Its full length was probably about 30 centimeters. It was probably made out of bronze or iron or something of the sort. Even without touching it, I could tell it had some weight into it. It was composed of a grip and a cone-shaped part, and it was obviously made to be a piercing weapon. I see. I see. What an interesting weapon. You could do lots of things with this. Let me hold it for a second. It definitely smells funny. And sure, it tastes funny. It really makes you forget that initially this was a demonic teenage girl. Such an interesting technique. Like, looking back on this and seeing the picture more clearly. Like, it is fascinating to think that this entire time these were actually demons that can transform into stakes and bounce off walls so easily like that. Maybe you could describe it like a miniature version of those lances Western knights used on horseback. The grooves that had been carved in a spiral shape made it also look like a drill. However, the grip had an occult-like design of a demon or something. So, instead of a weapon used in war, it felt like something that would be used in a ritual to offer up a sacrifice.
間違いない。生贄のつもりなんだな。
Well, there is no room for doubt. All the Twilights have been completed once more. Which means that Beatrice won once again. Which would mean that will be bestowed with treasure this round are Battler, Maria, Rosa, Genji, and Kinzo.
第7の番に膝をえぐりて殺せ。
I guess that study has succeeded in protecting him this time.
第8の番に足をえぐりて殺せ。
待てよ。それじゃ第4、5、6の番が抜けちまう。まさか。
That's right. Why is Genji-san alone? If something like this had happened, why wouldn't George Yankee, Gata-san or Shannon-chan be here? Why was Genji-san alone?
どういうこと？ジョージ君たち3人はどこへ行ったの？
夏日奥様のお部屋を探し物に行きたいと言われましてお出かけになりました。まだお戻りになりません。
なんだって。その出かけたってのはいつ頃の話なんだよ。
2、3時間前のことだと思います。
そんな、なんでそんな大事なことをやっちゃなくて、なんで不審に思わなかったんだよ。
常に一人使用人は待機していなくてはなりません。彼らが戻るまで待機しているのが私のお務めでしたもの。
Was Genji-san really this much of a robot? This is bad, this is bad, it's really bad. The fact that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san had been killed in this way meant that 3 people had already been killed. We ran towards Aunt Nazi's room, with a touch of anxiety, and just as much resignation. Before we even saw the inside of Aunt Nazi's room, we were imprisoned by a certain resignation. On that door was bizarre graffiti. No. Filth? In any case, the door was in a normal state. We were able to imagine what was inside that room without opening it. On the face of the door, how should I say it? Someone had heavily painted their hands with the same red paint that magic circles from before had been drawn with, and had banged on the door, scratched it, dirtied it. It was dirtied like the aftermath of a kindergartner playing in the mud. Blood? I didn't know what it could mean. That bright red paint that had been slathered on was dripping down, and even though no one said it, it made us think of blood.
Genji-san, 開けてください。
Why would there be blood or red paint like that? Auntie Rosa held her gun up high and ordered Genji-san to open it. Genji-san approached the door without being particularly troubled by that stuff on it, and turned the knob. But he immediately turned around, shaking his head. It was locked. Right now, there was only one person in this mission who could lock and unlock doors at will. Auntie Rosa. This time, Genji-san asked Auntie Rosa to unlock the door, instead of the other way around. After making a slightly disgruntled face, Auntie Rosa handed me a master key and told me to open the door.
バトラー君、これで開けてもらえる？
そのくらいのこと、ケンジさんを信用しても。
Auntie Rosa glared at me with an intense gaze. Getting into a fight here would only make the environment turn even more sour. Without talking back anymore, I approached that creepy door and tried the knob. It didn't open. It was definitely the resistance of the lock. I stuck the master key into the keyhole. Clunk. A light resistance. While listening to Auntie Rosa, she told me to be cautious. I opened the door without being particularly cautious at all. And there was the sea, laid out before us, not betraying our expectations in the slightest.
ひどい。
やっぱり第4、5、6の番の再現だったな。
Indeed. Only the survivors are left. Died in Nazi Zuro, with her forehead having been pierced by a weapon shaped like a stake. What? On the fourth twilight, gouged the head and killed. She got to spend her last moments with the man she loved. Wait a minute, this isn't right. There should be more hits than that. Died in Nazi Zuro, with his stomach having been pierced by a weapon shaped like a stake. In the sixth twilight, gouged his stomach and killed. It's hard to say, but they might have been the second twilight. Died in Nazi Zuro, with his chest having been pierced by a weapon shaped like a stake. On the fifth twilight, gouged the chest and killed. The chef's goose was cooked. Hehehehe. Well, I can understand that Goda was only pierced by one of the stakes, but it would seem that Shannon and George had also been pierced by the stakes, but I remember that they were also attacked by Beatrice when she was in a serious rage at that point. So wait, what? Her corpse, which had gone missing, was later found in a courtyard. At that time, it was found with a weapon shaped like a stake having been rammed into the ankle. And that finishes up the 8th twilight as well. His corpse, which had gone missing, was later found in a courtyard. At that time, it was found with a weapon shaped like a stake having been rammed into the knee. And that finishes up the 7th twilight. Well, I can definitely see the wound in the necks as well. The knee and the ankle. The ankle and the knee. Huh. The inside of the room looked as though a rubber had just broken in. Drawers were flung open, pulled out, with their contents thrown all over the floor. The room was devastated so that it looked nothing like the room of the methodical Nazi. But the thing that caught the eye before that was Koda-san's body lying face down right in front of the door. One of those demon stakes had been rammed right into the center of his chest, almost as though it had been struck there to finish off a vampire. Exactly how far would it have raged after being stuck that deeply into his chest? My own chest hurt just imagining it.
胸をえぐれば第5の番だったが。
Maria grabbed my hand. Her expression looked just like normal, but maybe she really was afraid of the aura in this room where 3 bodies lay. And along the wall farthest into the room, Georgianiki was dead. This time, one of those stakes had been rammed right in the center of his stomach. Gouging the stomach was the 6th twilight, I think. Shannon-chan's body was face down over the front of the dresser, lying in a sea of blood. Its horribly broken mirror, sprayed with blood. Had she seen her final worldly expression? Because she was face down, I couldn't see her face, but I could imagine even without seeing it. Nearby, in a sea of blood she lay in, a demon's stake had fallen. Only the 4th twilight was left. Gouged the head and killed. Maybe my heart was completely tired out at that. Even though I knew what I was doing was wrong. I lifted her head and checked, and confirmed that my guess was right on the mark. There was a gaping hole in Shannon-chan's forehead, and her insides were dripping out. Not only that, you could even see inside her. After seeing that, I finally noticed that what I was doing was wrong. I mainly averted my eyes, but by now, it was probably pointless.
こらバトラ君、警察が来るまでそっとしておかないとダメよ。勝手に触ってどういうつもり？せっかくの現場証拠がおかしくなっちゃったらどうするのよ。
Auntie Rosa yelled furiously at me, and even yanked the back of my collar. I tottered limply and fell on my butt, and gazed dimly up at the ceiling. This makes no sense. I saw what happened here before, but this just doesn't seem right. The only wounds that they have is the ones done by the stakes, it seems. The conditions and the positioning of the bodies suggest that something else happened here, but... What?
Maria.
お
これで第8の番まで終わっちまったな。第9の番って何だったっけ？
第9の晩に魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。
Indeed. In which case, we have lost. Alright, well, until Beatrice decides to come back and finish up the game, I wonder if we can find some extra clues.
そっか。これで黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェは復活するんだな。そしてなんだ、最後の第10の番。
第10の晩に旅は終わり、黄金の里に至るだろう。黄金鏡の扉はもうすぐ開かれるんだよ。もうすぐ。
魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしないか。俺たちはこれから死ぬのか、それともこれで生贄の儀式は終了で俺たちの旅は終わり、黄金鏡へたどり着けるのか。何が俺たちの旅だ。俺たちは今日一日犯人を見つけよう、事態を打開しようと散々頭をひねって何も至れなかった。バカの考え休むに似たりってやつだ。そうさ、俺たちは今日一日ずっと憎悪と疑心暗鬼で自分を焼き焦がした。死んだ人間しか信用できないって言ってわざわざ3人の死に顔をここまで確認に来たんだぜ。こんな 俺たちがどうして黄金鏡とやらにたどり着けるっていうんだよ。
That's right. If nothing could be solved, it would have been much better if we had locked ourselves up the whole time without thinking at all. I guess from that point of view, you are sort of right. But despite all this, I think that we progressed a few steps better, whether you see it or not. We at least managed to fight against Beatrice a little more than the last game, but we still have ways to go. Grandfather was the wisest of us. He's been shut up in his room since yesterday, without any contact with anyone. And that would have been fine. Grandfather was the most correct.
大丈夫だよバトラー。マリアといれば大丈夫。魔女はとても気まぐれで、時に面白半分に人間を殺すかもしれない恐ろしい存在だけれども、でもマリアと一緒にいれば絶対に大丈夫だから、怯えないで。
ありがとうな。気休めでも嬉しいぜ。
After Auntie Rosa finished investigating their deaths, she proclaimed that she would steal this room again. Chase the rest of us out, stole back the master key she had lent me, and locked the door again. It seemed that Georgianki had been holding the original key to Auntie Rosa's room. She had also collected that. Wait a second. She had all the master keys in her hand. And the original key had been shut up inside the room. Wasn't this another locked room? Wait a minute. Something is not right here. So this is a fourth locked room. Now that we have been released from our suspicion of those three, we once again return to the parlor. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore. If only the dead are safe, and everyone alive is a wolf, then all that's left is me, Auntie Rosa, Maria, and Genji-san. Only those, grandfather, and that 19th person, the guest who I haven't even sensed, Beatrice. 13 people had died, and 6 were left. With only 6 people, how will the wolves and sheep puzzle end? Even though the puzzle, which had 19 people in it, had been reduced to a mere 6, I couldn't find any answer. We returned to the parlor. I felt a little anxious that, while we were gone, a creepy magic circle or something might have been drawn on the door to the parlor. But thankfully, there was none.
ありがとう、源氏さん。ここまでで結構よ。あなたも今日は休んでください。
かしこまりました。これで休ませていただきます。
おい、ローザおばさん。この状況下で源氏さんをたった一人で過ごさせるっていうのかよ。
そうね。とても危険なことだと思うわ。でもならなぜ彼は無事なの？彼は3人が夏日姉さんの部屋へ向かった後、ずっと一人でいた。なのに無事だった。狼と羊のパズルよ。最も弱い立場となる孤立した羊が無事な理由は何？
狼がたまたまいなかったんだろ。
違うわ。それが羊じゃなかったからよ。
源氏さんが狼だっていうのかよ。
Even if it is a possibility, the way you speak of him, Rosa, it really feels like there aren't a bone inside your body that feels anything for anyone anymore. I mean, except Maria.
彼は一人で厨房にいたそうだけど、それは証明不能よ。南條先生たちの死体を運んだり、ジョージ君たちを殺したりできたのは彼かベアトリーチェだけなのよ。
待てよ。その論法じゃ誰だって。
バトラ様、お気遣いをありがとうございます。私は信頼を勝ち得るのは常に100の言い訳ではなく一つの誠実であると信じています。たとえ信頼をいただけなくても私は最後まで誠実でありたいと思います。
源氏さん。
Sorry, Genji.
なら決まりね。あなたが本当に無実なら、それは明日やってくる警察が証明してくれるわ。だからそれまでの間、あなたを疑いから外すわけにはいかない。長年後ろ宮家に仕えてくれたあなたにこんな仕打ちをするのは本当に心苦しいんだけれど、今夜は分かってください。そして明日になったらもう一度仲直りさせてください。
Genji-san gave his head a small shake.
今日も明日も私は後ろ宮家の使用人であり続けます。ご用がありましたらいつでもお申し付けください。それでは失礼させていただきます。
After hearing all that, there was nothing left to say. Genji-san bowed deeply and left down the hall. And we entered the room. Even though Auntie Rosa still held all the master keys herself, she began another thorough check of the inside of the parlor. She opened the curtains and checked again to make sure the windows were locked. As I watched, how should I say it? I felt like it didn't really matter anymore. If I said anything unnecessary, he would turn into another fight. If Rosa opened one of those windows before, now she could have locked it back. In which case, what would be the point of doing that? To have someone enter the parlor while we were gone? Maybe to have someone enter the mansion, since Genji must have locked every door and window in the mansion by now. Yeah, I guess so. Just a random thought. It also could have been Rosa double-checking everything just to be safe. For a while, I guessed at her from the corridor. Figured I had waited just about long enough, and entered the parlor behind her. If she cannot trust anyone but the dead, she should just go around killing everyone with a gun she's got in her hand. And then in the end, she realized that she herself was the wolf. And then she can blast through the head of the final wolf, and the curtain will close on this insane murder theater. As I thought that bitterly, I returned to the sofa where I had been encamped before, and really rested both of my feet on the table. Or was about to, when I found something there and stopped my feet.
なんだこれ。
Right there, almost as though it was addressed to me, was a Western envelope. Aha! A new envelope! And since the door was closed, either Beatrice whooshed in and put this, or someone came from outside through the window as I suggested. It was that envelope from before, with the seal of the one-winged eagle. And it was unopened. But wait. What is this? When? Who? Put in a place like this? I have been sitting here the whole time, until I went with everyone to check the corpses. And there hadn't been anything. And when I returned, it was here.
大丈夫。戸締まりに問題はないわ。この部屋は安全よ。
I heard Rosa muttering that. Wait. We had made sure this room was safe when we exited it. We had checked that the windows were all perfectly locked. And we had locked it, come back, and the windows were still locked. Then, wait, who had put this letter here and how? I opened the letter. 2 pieces of stationery came out. I mean, unless it was Rosa who put this here while we weren't looking. I mean, possibly when she was checking the room again. The first page had a magic circle drawn on it, in something like blood. If I asked Maria, she'd probably know what it meant. And there was writing on the other page.
気分の謎解きは進んでおりますか？もうじきあっさり時間切れ。第9の番はもうじき始まります。
There was no mistake. It was a letter from Beatrice.
ほう、バトラー、それは？
ああ、今ここに来たら置いてあった。
どうしたのマリア？バトラ君、その手紙は？
いや、ここに置いてあったんだ。どうしてだよ。この部屋はちゃんと戸締まりをしていたのに。どうしてだよ。どうして。
マリア、いらっしゃい。
Auntie Rosa closed her eyes just a little, and as if silently thinking something, told Maria to come. Beatrice gave that one envelope that she should have read at the dinner. One of the first letters. If this particular envelope also came from Rosa, then could it mean that Beatrice entrusted Rosa with envelopes left and right? That she had a role to fulfill? I mean, it would fit with her being the sole survivor of the first Twilight, since she was also there at the chapel last night with the other adults. Maria obeyed her mother's words. She did. Something unbelievable happened. Auntie Rosa pointed the barrel of that gun at me. Eh? Nani?
バトラ君、あなたを狼だと断定するわ。
どうして。
私はこの部屋にたった今帰ってきて、そのテーブルの上に何もないことを見ているわ。そしてマリアがそのテーブルに近づいていないことも知っている。わずかな時間よ。でもこのテーブルに近づき、そして手紙を見つけたと主張するのはあなただけなのよ。
そんなのって、いや、めちゃくちゃだ。なんで俺がこんなものを置くんだよ。おいおい、俺は不審なものを見つけて報告しただけだぜ。なんで俺が疑われるんだよ。
あなたにしかその手紙をそこへ置けないからよ。そう、これは自作自演。あなたが懐から封筒を取り出し、たった今見つけたかのように振る舞った。密室の中に魔女が入って手紙を置いていった幻想を作り出すためにね。
バカ野郎。またそういう考えなのかよ。
If it's the other way around, and Rosa put it here, for her to go through this charade of pinning the blame on Balor it is questionable, but I guess that is because Maria is also here. Like, if I'm to suspect that Rosa is trying to kill everyone, and Maria was not here, then she probably would have shot Balor by now, but... Well, maybe I'm being way too hasty with my theory here, like I need to think more. However, I cannot think when you have that gun pointed at us, Rosa.
そんなことで俺まで疑うのかよ。いい加減にしろ。俺は親父たちを殺されてるんだぞ。そんな俺がどうして犯人の片棒を担がなければならないんだよ。
そうね。たとえ莫大なお金がもらえるとしたとしても、そんなことで肉親の命を切り売りできるような悪魔がいるなんて信じたくないわ。でもね、いるかもしれない。言い方が悪いわね。例えばバトラ君にとってルドルフ兄さんたちが親でなかったとしたら。
はあ
God damn it. Alright, fine. What about when Jessica and Kanon died, then? If we are to go with the idea that Valerie is a murderer, why would he go out of his way to defend Kanon when he could have easily let it slide? And let everyone think that Kanon or the servants did it? What about Kumasawa and Nanjo? What about Goda, George, and Shano? Valerie was here the entire time when those murders happened.
何を言い出すかと思えば、親父は親父だろうが。確かにキリエさんと血縁はねえが、俺の姉貴も同然のお人だ。そこだけは聞き捨てならねえぞ、この野郎。
言うのをやめなさい。ごめんなさい。言い方が悪かったわね。確かに後宮バトラ君はルドルフ兄さんの子供かもしれない。でもあなた本当にルドルフ兄さんの息子のバトラ君なの？
What? Are you kidding me with this, Rosa?
何をわけのわかんねえこと。俺がバトラじゃねえんなら誰に見えるってんだよ。
ルドルフ兄さんも含めて私たちは6年ぶりにあなたに再会しているわ。あなたが本当に後宮バトラかなんて誰も証明できないのよ。あなたは本当は後宮バトラじゃなくて後宮家の財産をうまく騙し取ろうと紛れ込んだ何者かもしれない。あなた自分が後宮バトラだとはっきり証明できる。今この場で。
いい加減にしやがれ。俺は俺だ。後宮バトラだ。
Oh, nice. Very nice, Rosa. Like, why should Balor prove that he is innocent? Again, you're going with a guilty till proven innocent mentality. How do you expect Balor to prove something like this at this hour? What, do you want his birth certificate? His car license? Do you want to check his fingerprints at the Tokyo Police Department or something?
そこまで疑い出した。あんただって本当に後宮ローザなのかよ。自分は自分だ。他の誰でもね。ああ、そうだな。あんたの言う通りだぜ。死体以外で信用できるのは自分だけってわけだ。そこまで言うなら反論させてもらうぜ。ジョージの兄貴たちが死んでいた夏日おばさんの部屋には鍵がかかってた。部屋の鍵はジョージの兄貴が持っていたんだろう。そしてマスターキーを持ってるのは今やローザおばさんだけだぜ。あの部屋に施錠できたのはあんただけじゃねえかよ。
True. Granted, if we are to suspect Rosa of their murder, that is impossible since at the time both Rosa and Balor were in the parlor at all times.
俺の推理じゃこうだ。あんたは真犯人と通じ合っていて、俺たちの目を盗み、5つのマスターキーのうちの1つをこっそり貸し出したんだ。
そんなことしないわよ。ほらここに5つあるわよ。
そんなのは当てになるもんか。あらかじめ取り決めた場所に置かせて回収したかもしれねえじゃねえかよ。それにマスターキーが5個かどうかは疑わしいと言ってたのはあんただぜ。
じゃああなたはその封筒をあなた以外の誰がどうやってそこに置いたというのよ。
Okay, you know what? This is going nowhere. We're gonna be going in circles at this point, blaming each other with theories and no basis for any of them. Something needs to be done.
それが証明できない限り、あなたが狼なのよ。
うるせえ。ならあんたこそ証明しろよ。犯人はどうやってジョージの兄貴たちをあの密室で殺したと言うんだよ。どうやって施錠したと言うんだよ。
まったくにもってその通り。夏日の部屋も全く同じだぞ、いつもの通り。
Same as usual. So most of the previous red truths still stand, you say?
扉も窓も内側から施錠されていた。いかなるイカ様も細工もなく、そして隠された通行手段もなければ隠れる場所もない。夏日自身の鍵はジョージのポケットに入って室内に閉じ込められていた。あとは5本のマスターキーしかないが、それは全てローザが持っている。ついでに言おう、その客間も同じよ。本来の客間の鍵は使用人室に封印されている。だからマスターキー以外では解錠不能。部屋の密室定義もいつもに同じよ。おいおい、容疑者はもう一人しかいねえぜ。それでもまだかまととぶんのかよ、後ろ宮バトラー。
うるせえ。てめえも黙ってろ。
These closed room murders are getting out of hand here. Beating us with them like a hammer. Donk, donk, donk.
黙るのはあなたの方でしょう。あなた以外にどうやってその手紙を置けたというの。それが証明できない限り、あなたは狼なのよ。
俺が疑えるってんならあんただって疑えるぜ。あんたこそ証明してみろ。最初に部屋に入って戸締まりの確認だのを始めたのはローザおばさんじゃねえかよ。そして俺の座っていた場所に再び俺が戻るだろうことを見越し、手紙をそっと置いたんだ。
So, with that logic, as I mentioned before in one of the theories, Rosa had plenty of time to put that letter there.
これはあんたの罠だって疑うこともできるんだぜ。
どうして私がそんな罠を。私が狼ならこの銃で問答無用で撃ってるわよ。
And yet, you cannot, because Mari is also here, and she would see you for the true wolf that you are, if you are the one responsible for it. If you are a wolf, maybe you would want to be seen as a bloody murderer, so you are making up this charade to make Maria think that Balor is the true killer.
そんなのじゃ理由にならねえな。マリアの目の前で殺人ができねえから、うまく罠にかけようって回りくどいことしてるかもしれねえじゃねえか。
Exactly. That is a possibility.
マスターキーは全てあんたの手にある。ならここもさっきも全部あんたの仕業じゃねえかよ。言い逃れできるってんなら言い訳を聞かせてみろよ。そうさ、ローザおばさんは最初から怪しいんだよ。なんで親族会議の大人たちが6人殺されたのにローザおばさんだけが例外なんだ。
True. As I explained before, what with the chapel moment last night. Though, we have no evidence to back it up, but you think that someone like Better wouldn't pick up on that eventually and suspect you like that? Since we're talking about everyone being a wolf, I mean, come on, Rosa. You're making this really hard on Better. Not to mention that we are making little to no progress in this because of this back and forth between us. Not only are you making this hard on Better, but also Maria.
なんでローザおばさんだけがあの礼拝堂にいなかったんだ。一つしか理由がねえよ。ローザおばさんが親父たちをあそこに招いて殺したんだ。くそくそ、それで全部説明がつくじゃねえかよ。ふざけんじゃねえ、ふざけんじゃねえ。わけのわかんねえことを言うんじゃねえ。
Maria forced herself in between me and Auntie Rosa. Both of us incensed. I was taken aback by Maria's crying voice, and returned to my senses. If it was Beatrice that did it, which is possible, then well, look what you're doing here, Beatrice. You're basically bringing conflict between Rosa and Beller, and are making Maria sad because of this. If that is the case, you are quite something. And don't you think I forgot about the magic circle inside the envelope that brings distrust to those inside the room? At that instant, I became filled with shame. Tears flowed from my eyes.
そうなんだよ。全部魔女のせいだったんじゃないかよ。鍵がどうこうとか、トリックだのアリバイだの、全部バカらしかったんだ。魔女の仕業なのに、俺たちは同じ人間同士を信じ合うこともできなくて。なあ、ローザおばさん。人間の犯人なんて最初からいなかったんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。
God. Back to this again. If we cannot suspect Rosa, then it has to be Beatrice. If we not suspect Beatrice, then it has to be Rosa. And this is another trap for Beller.
だからローザおばさんが犯人のわけがないし、俺やマリアだって、そしてゲンジさんだって他のみんなだって犯人のわけがないんだ。どうしてこんなことに。俺はどうして大好きだったローザおばさんとこんなことの隣り合いをしてるんだよ。優しくって大好きだったおばさんとどうしてこんな罵り合いをしてるんだよ。なんでみんなで疑い合わなくちゃならねえんだよ。おばさんを疑ってなんかいないんだ。誰も疑ってなんかないんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。ベアトリーチェの仕業だったんだ。全部ベアトリーチェが魔法で行った事件だったんだ。ベアトリーチェ頼むからここに現れてくれよ。そして自分が全てやったと俺たちに告白してくれよ。もうごめんだ。こんな疑り合いはごめんなんだ。だから俺たちを許してくれ。解放してくれ。互いの死を見届け合うまで疑り合わなきゃならない地獄から解放してくれ。俺に優しい親戚たちを、いとこたちを返してくれよ。もう嫌だ、全部嫌だ。お前は確かに実在する。姿を見せてくれよ。ベアトリーチェ
Beller.
ベアトリーチェ
私はまだ生きているのか。
Kinzo seemed to have fallen into a doze at some point. He searched for his spectacles and looked at the clock. It was 10 p.m.
あやつの儀式はあってどこまで進んだのか。時間的にはもうだいぶ進んでいなくてはならぬ頃だ。
Kinzo lifted his body from the chair and approached the portrait of the witch that he had gazed at every day.
ベア
アトリーチェ、もうじきお前の微笑みに再会できる。死んでもいい。お前の微笑みがもう一度見られるならこの命は惜しくない。だから交渉だ。お前にもう一度会わせてくれ。そして愛を誓わせておくれ。私の罪を謝らせておくれ。だが逃がさん。お前は私のものだ。髪の毛の一本からつま先まで爪の赤すらも私のものなのだ。
Wow.
お前の肉一片までも全て私のもので、その亡骸の煮汁まで私のものなのだ。
Yeah, fantastic, Kinzo. Fantastic.
逃がさん。今度こそこの手からこぼさん。お前を永遠に私のものにしてやるぞ。二度と逃がすものか。二度と逃がすものか。
Kinzo howled in rage, then suddenly fell to his knees as he shook and scraped at the wall. In an instant, he had started sobbing.
違う。私が言いたいのはこんなことじゃないんだ。ベアトリーチェ、頼む。もう一度会わせてくれ。謝らせてくれるだけでいい。ベアトリーチェ、お前が愛しい恋しい。私が間違っていた。お前が微笑んでさえくれれば他には何もいらなかったんだ。私が間違えた。私がそれを間違えて取り返しのつかないことをしてしまった。その償いに残りの全ての人生を捧げた。お前に詫びるために、私の罪を償うために全て捧げたんだ。頼む。私の死の際でもいい。せめてお前に一言謝らせて。ベアトリーチェ。
As Kinzo shook and cried, behind his small back, a butterfly appeared out of nowhere, like a flake of gold leaf, and softly fell down. You fool, Kinzo. Do you think a woman exists who would fall for a man's tears? No. Even if it wouldn't make a human woman fall for you, it might for a woman who is not human. Kinzo, do you remember? In the board position of our chess game, which we never finished. Kinzo, as though he had suddenly remembered something, approached the chess set. The game he had been playing with Nanjo until yesterday remained there still. He wiped the pieces from the chessboard with a wide sweeping motion, and began to line them up again one by one. It was the setup for a game in progress.
そうだ、こうだ。 私はクイーンを勧めた。とても良い名手だった。お前には少々きつすぎるかもしれん一手だった。お前は駒を見捨てるか見捨てないかに悩み、ずっと悩み。
Kinzo waited, with the opposite seat empty. Surely, very soon, his opponent would appear there, and he would be able to restart this game again. You fool, Kinzo. You want to apologize? You want to see my face again? You want to make my smile an eternal thing? Why can't you say a much simpler word? Even though that is the single element of the world. At that time, Kinzo muttered a prayer, an entreaty. It was probably best to just call it muttering.
お前を愛しているベアトリーチェ。
They were pure words. That's something an innocent child would say, without any evil intent. You really are a fool, Kinzo. If you ever had the chance to do your life over again, I don't know that those words could never cause a one to fall for you. Yes, not without a miracle. So this... Just then, Kinzo definitely heard a small knock, with a different tempo than those of the servants.
誰だ?
The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
誰かと聞いておる。返事をせるか。
The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
まさか。おお、まさか。ベアトリーチェなのか。ベアトリーチェ、ベアトリーチェ。
The woman beyond the door answered. On the ninth twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. Beller could be found in the dining hall, unable to summon the will to return to the guest house in the middle of this rain. He had wandered half-heartedly around the mansion in search of a random place to sit, and had stationed himself in the dining hall. He hadn't bothered to lock it. He did think that maybe the shapeless murderer, or the golden witch, might come to kill him now that he was isolated. But he no longer thought about resisting that. On the contrary, he had no intention of blocking the culprit with a lock. He wanted that person to come at him openly, from the front. If it was a murderer, he thought he'd ask them to tell about some of those wonderful lock-through tricks as a parting souvenir. And if it was a witch, he thought he'd ask her to at least take his life with some wonderful magic. However, ironically, neither of these two came to meet Beller. Beller opened the liquor cabinet on his own and enjoyed the liquor to his heart's content. No longer was there anybody anywhere who would have a problem with him drinking alcohol. Yeah. Might as well. No point in saying no to fine wine in the last minutes of one's life. Before this all ends though, I do have to say that I honestly don't know where things are gonna go from here if this stuff keeps happening. I understand that feeling of not wanting to believe that the murderer is a person that you love. It ain't my first time, so I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna be the one to suspect Rosa. As much as I do not want to, and while there still needs to be more evidence to back up my claim that Rosa was the one that did it, that she was the one that at the very least killed in the first Twilight, she will be under my radar for quite a while from now on. Innocent till proven guilty? Or is it the other way around?